tips, I think, for young actors, which I found fascinating. One of them is, in a close-up, choose just one eye of the actor you're playing opposite.
Yeah, and don't go from eye to eye. The reason you choose an eye is because in this shot now, the camera is obviously there shooting me. If I look at you with this eye into your other eye, you've lost me. If I look at you with this eye into that eye, this eye is in the camera. And if you want to play strong, don't blink. If you want to play weak, blink. I mean, don't deliberately blink, but just, you can break it. But if you really want to play strong and you just look at someone like that, this camera can see this eye. And never change eyes. Only actors do that. People don't do that in real life.
Do you work hard at somehow getting a hook for the character? I mean, is that sort of part of what it is for you in terms of going from looking at a script?
Let me put it this way. I used to think that it was my job to create a hook for the character, that I had to come up with something that was going to be the definitive, thing about him. Now I think my job is to discover what that hook to the character is.
Discover it rather than create it.
Than create it. Yeah, I think that before I developed enough technique to really feel as though I was doing it naturally, I would think, well, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to try this, and I'll put a parrot on his shoulder, and I'll walk like that. I don't know when it sort of kicked in, but a few years ago, I said, wait a minute, there's other ways in order to do this. It has to come out from the inside.
Nobody wants to be sad or grief-stricken. Your characters will be trying to resist grief, will want to find their way back to happiness. And that's all you should be playing. The audience mustn't see you trying to be sad, trying to cry, trying to be angry. They must see the opposite. The anger is being vented because you need to vent it. It's not because you want the anger. And the stammer is precisely the same. I have to find the impediment before I can fight the impediment, and but you mustn't see me trying to find it. And
if you love doing it, keep doing it, because you have to do it because you love it, because it's a tough business. I don't want to be negative, but there's a lot of, and it's my experience, a lot of rejection starting out. You just have to do it because you love doing it. Have perseverance, I would say. I was talking to William Hurt once, who was, when I was a young actor, and he was doing a play that my dad was in, this play Hurly Burly, and I got to spend some time with him. I was like in my early 20s, and I was a fan of his, and he said that he knew so many young actors when he was starting out. I think he went to Juilliard, that quit before because they didn't have the perseverance. They weren't able to stick with it.
And it's simpler than you think, and it's very hard for actors, and I get caught up in that myself, where you have to do more, do something, and you don't have to do anything, nothing, and you're better off, and it'll work the way people are in life. They don't do anything. They could, I'm talking to you and I'm looking at your expression, and you could have been told that somebody in your family was this or that, some terrible thing. You're still going to have the same look on your face, and that says more, allows the audience to read into it as opposed to you telling them what they should feel. And actors tend at times to try and say they have to give it something, and they don't have to give it anything.
I create a backstory, but I have to say, I used to be way more strict about it. I would have 100, 150 pages. I mean, I would write a book. Now, I don't do that because I find that there is something to be said with leaving yourself alone and being surprised that some things that you may have absolutely thought was true about your character, you get on that stage, and all of a sudden the other actor will throw you something, you're like, oh no, that's not actually what it is. So I try to do that less.
Dreams without goals are just dreams, and they ultimately fuel disappointment. Goals on the road to achievement cannot be achieved without discipline and consistency. I pray that you all put your shoes way under the bed at night so that you got to get on your knees in the morning.
Gotta hit 'em.
I love it. I love the discipline part because you know people think you are just you make something cool and you're supposed to be a success, but we put a lot of work into what we do, and a lot it requires discipline.
That's right.
Because you can't just do whatever you want to do and think everything is going to come out 100%. It's not. You got to put that work into it.
Well, they say luck is where opportunity meets preparation.
And then, you know, I've done others where I really tried to, for instance, I really tried to study the person and emulate them. I've also done them like in Bernie where I didn't want to. My imagination seemed so clear with who the guy was, and Rick Linklater, the director, knew him. So I said, I need to go through, you're my meter, because I'm not gonna go, I'm choosing not to go study this guy. Because where my imagination is with what you've written on the page, I just don't feel like I want or need anymore. So I said, you tell me if I'm going too much or not enough. And you know, Rick and I work where he always takes me right up to, if it's comedy, usually he'll take me right up to well, before we get to caricature.
And that's what I did. And what I learned was that these people that I was going to play were not me. And that's the thing I had to look at was how were they similar to me and how were they different from me. And I had to cover those bases so I could understand what makes them different and what makes them similar, and therefore I could create this person that's not living my life, it's living someone else's life. And so that's just how I've approached it, and I guess that maybe people call that character acting, but that's just how I approach acting, period.
Someone had invaded my space, invaded my being, you know, and I was doing something against me that I didn't want to be done, so I took control of the situation and I ran with it. And I promised myself that I would continue to move forward and do my best not to compromise in any way whatsoever. So that's the best advice I think I could give, is just to keep moving forward and don't give a shit what anybody thinks, you know. Just keep moving forward and do what you have to do for you. You know?